Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressors, and dreamers. I'm Craig, the writer Stewart, and this is So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. Now, it's one thing to come out black and gay. It's another to come out Nigerian and gay. In this podcast, you're going to hear this guy tell a story of how he came out to his African family. He spoke of how traditional they are. In fact, he compared them to the Cosbys. He spoke very honestly about how this lifelong secret of his shattered his family, but how he believes his family will one day be restored. This was a secret that his mom carried for him, with him, for many years before his father actually knew. And how he was actually outed by his brother. My. Now that's a mess. He speaks about thoughts of suicide, his father disowning him, and his contentious relationship with his brother. So it's my intention that this podcast will inspire you to live your truth, to stand taller, and stop living your life with an apology. And I do understand that it's a very personal journey, because it wasn't so long ago that I had to take those steps. And I had to own my truth, and I made the decision to live my life without an apology. But there's a freedom that comes with that. And that freedom is greater than any fear you could ever have. There's a peace of mind that cannot be explained, that you will only understand once you begin to live your truth. But for those of you who may not identify as LGBTQ, it is my hope that if you have children and you are struggling to continue loving your child because he or she identifies as gay and lesbian or trans or bisexual, that perhaps this story will speak to your heart, speak to your mind, and encourage you to see things differently. I'm calling this, You Can't Build on Broken. So listen and enjoy. This is very personal work for me.
Politics.
I believe I was called to tell my story, use my voice, be a voice for the community, to speak to and for a community of people that's been ignored, denied,
love,
overlooked.
relationships, religion.
This is my life's work.
Religion.
I want to use words to uplift, heal, inspire, encourage.
Do something different. Every Monday at 10.
First of all, let's bring it back. So I'm here in Atlanta and shit. So before I left to go back home, when I came to Atlanta for the Mason conference, that was a different time. That's when I come places and I post stuff, and I make sure I post stuff with secret custom settings on Facebook or secret custom settings on Instagram.
So that
certain people wouldn't see it. My brother's friends, as an African, just trying to keep certain things away.
And you're Nigerian?
Yes.
Okay.
And what happened was, we actually had a group for the Baby Institute. So you could post stuff in there, and it was supposedly supposed to be secret. So I was posting a lot of stuff in there. However, somehow, when I posted certain things, my brother and his friends were able to see it.
So just for clarity's sake, NASM is National AIDS Education Services for Minorities.
Yes.
And the Baby
Build a Brother Institute.
Build a Brother is a subsidiary. It's
of
a program
NASM.
of
Yes,
NASM.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So you're in this private Facebook group. And you're posting away.
I'm posting my life away, child.
Unbeknownst to you, your brother and his friends are able to see some of these posts that you're making.
Even worse, my brother's friends saw it. My brother, let me give you some background. My family, as a Nigerian American family, and part of the Igbo tribe, we're the Brady Bunch. Okay. So we've been the example for all African families. My mother's a nurse. Father is the dean of graduate studies at Bowie State. So, we all speak the language. It's a rarity. You find anybody who was born here that speaks the language, know the language. So we were usually the example, the barometer for what an African family should be. So that's the first thing. We're going to start with imagery. Similar to the African American community, how when you are that image, preacher son type thing, you can't be anything but that.
You can't deviate.
Never. So he goes to this is now unbeknownst to me, but he goes to an event or a party.
Your brother.
Yes. And his friends pull up the phone like, yo, you seen your brother? Who are these clowns he's with? Again, a group of hetero males, of course.
Right. So what's in the pictures that he shows?
Oh, it's just me. It's funny. It's just me and human beings who express themselves in the way they express themselves.
Okay.
Speaking in a heterosexual manner, speaking in that manner of ignorance, a whole bunch of faggots. Because I look very masculine. Okay, I have very masculine features. But some of the girls I was with, they standing and leaning.
Some of their slips were showing.
Hello.
Their slips were
Their
showing.
slips, okay.
I am sitting here talking to Chinedu.
There you go.
So the slips are showing.
The slips are
picture.
showing. So he saw what he saw. And he kept that inside of him. Now, this is unbeknownst to me because now I'm talking about this in hindsight. But now let's go back to me. I'm here having a time of my life, having this brotherly experience, and what I'm learning with this cohort of gay men who are positive, men who are negative, men who are
HIV positive,
HIV positive,
negative,
yes, who are unapologetic about who they are, and I'm like, man, I'm a very vocal person. Like I'm an activist. I've been always supportive of the black community, but I've always been very silent when it comes to the black gay community that I also align with. So during this transformative process, if you will, I said to myself, you know what? I was telling myself and telling my brothers, like, I feel confident. Like, I can't wait to go home. Like, I want to express to my parents and my family who I am.
So are your parents still in Africa?
No, they live here.
Okay.
However, my dad, he does work here in Nigeria. Like, he goes to Nigeria in the summer and the wintertime to teach there as well.
Okay.
So my mother, let's do a little background. My mother, she knows I'm gay. My two sisters know I'm gay.
At this present day?
Yes, at this present day, at that time. They've known for years before that. However, being African, the patriarchal side of everything is the strength of the family. So my dad was the one that I've been the most like that. Once he knows,
reticent about telling.
Yes, once he knows, it's all done from there. So again, unbeknownst to me, I don't know any of this. So I come back and I'm telling myself, like, you know what? I'm ready to come out. I'm ready to tell everybody what's going on. So
and how long ago was this?
Back in January.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm ready to let it all out. We done cried at Nason. We done cried at the conference. We done hugged these men who are empowering me, these, leaders like Dwayne and all of them, Ian, just really building on who we are. But I had to kind of break myself down. That's where the tears came from, because Ian was talking about you can't build on broken. So after I released that brokenness, I was ready to fortify myself into a strong structure, if you will. So I was ready to call my mother one day at work. This is a week after, to let her know, hey, girl, you might need to round up the troops. But check this out. She was calling me to tell me the exact same thing. Because my brother
had already
talked to her like, I think something's going on with Chinedu. You might want to tell him to come home and talk to daddy about this because people have seen this image.
And of course, at this point, when your brother went to say this to your mom, she's already aware, has known for years.
And she's here doing what mothers do.
Right.
Protecting their young.
Protecting their young.
Shout out to my mother for doing that because it's one thing that, mothers take care of their kids, but like you've been you have been misleading your husband for years.
Listen.
The black woman is something else.
Listen here. So let me just put a pin right there. We're gonna come back to the brother and you going back home. But how did you tell your mom that you were gay?
Oh.
And how did she receive it?
Check this out, child. I want to tell y'all. Listen, America, world, I'm a terrible son. Check this out. One day, this lady came to school.
How old were you?
This was I'm 25 now. I did some math. I had to be like 20. When did my boyfriend? 22. 22, 23. One of them two. It was one cold October morning in Baltimore, Maryland. I was sitting in Black Families psychology class, and we had this lawyer who came in. And at the time, I had interest in law. And she told a story about how when she left law school, black woman, how when she left law school, she gave herself straight hair, straightened her hair out, and she was, dressed very, businessy, like, corporate, if you will. And how when she had her practice, it was hard for her to get clients. But she looked
the part.
And it was just so difficult. She was getting them, but she wasn't getting a lot. Then she told herself one day, she said, you know what, I'm sick of doing this. She let her hair out. Shit was curly, puffy, all that. She wore like a very Afrocentric type of outfit, and she showed up. And she said that day, she doesn't know how, she got more clients. She kept it up as a test for the next month. She got so many clients that she had to start hiring people, paralegals and everything, and even get a new space that was bigger to help her business.
There's something about authenticity.
And she said it, there is nothing better than being, said only then when you're authentic does the true life start. And I was sitting right in front of her, and I'm sitting there, had nothing on my mind. I'm like, this bitch is talking to me.
In a completely different context.
She ain't no shit.
Yeah.
And I believe that's how God sends his
Yes,
messengers.
yes, he dispatches them. And I say all of the time, God is always speaking.
Hello?
We're not always listening.
Come on.
Go ahead.
So I said, you know what? I got out that class. I was just shaking out that class. Called my mom. She's actually a nurse here at the hospital. I'm like, Mom, I got something to tell you. Just too excited. So excited about what just happened, not even thinking about what's going on.
Right.
I called her. I'm like, Mom, I'm shaking a little bit, Mommy. I just want to let you know that I am attracted to men. I'm a gay man. And, my mother, she's so dramatic. You would think that we were Baptists, how dramatic this woman was. She's like, you're killing me. You've killed me. I'm like, girl, girl, bring it down. Girl.
Right. Meanwhile, you're still holding the phone, so you're not dead.
But get into the gag. She's like, well, I guess this is my birthday gift. It was her birthday.
You hadn't even thought about
I
that.
hadn't even thought about that.
Right.
So she's sitting at the work. And again, mothers, they carry so much,
Yeah.
but they don't show. You don't see what's on them. So she's sitting there. She's having a conversation. She's holding herself together, but I know she's breaking down. See, man, we the one who want to yell and scream and shout. We show. The mothers kind of keep it in. So she's like, what is... The first thing she said was, are you the man or are you the woman?
Look, that was her way of trying to understand.
Guess how I read her?
How did you read her?
I said, we're both the man. How about that?
We take turns fucking
Hello,
each other.
look. Mm-hmm.
I can't take you.
I said, I'm not about to sit here. First of all, I hate the whole title and shit.
Right.
So I wasn't about to sit here and do that. And it shows her ignorance in a sense. Love you dearly, Mom, but
Right.
her ignorance.
But ignorant is in the sense of just lack of knowledge,
Right.
lack of information.
And more or less because it's her son, because my mother's a nurse working in D.C. So
where the HIV rate
is high.
It still is, yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I think she's always known, but she wanted to doubt it. Because I'm like, you must have seen people like me. You care for people my age.
Yes, and I believe that a mother always knows if she's paying attention to her children. And most mothers are paying attention. And what I've learned through my own experience and sharing with my mom is that she knew it, but it was the truth of it that stung because she could never pretend not to know anymore. She could never pretend.
Right, because now it's been confirmed. It's that thing. Look, it's just that thing. And I told her about my boyfriend. I said, at the time my boyfriend lived in, he was living in China. He was teaching English. I told her about like him, and she's like, who is he and stuff. And she was just, what I liked about her, she did something very, very important that most mothers or fathers or family members should do. She took herself out of it and said, son, no matter what you're doing, just use protection. HIV is real. STDs are real. I don't want you to be a statistic, blah, blah, blah. Which was good in the sense of health, but also it kind of made me think. I'm like, I said I'm gay, and the first thing that we bring up is disease.
My mother said the same thing to me, and I said to her, it's almost like a carbon copy. I said to my mother, I said, you should also be having this conversation with the women in your family and the women in your life. Because at that time, HIV/AIDS was the #1 killer for black women.
Yes.
And I said, so did you have this conversation with them? Because I got me. Continue.
I love us for real. So that was that, and mother is fun. They're funny. Women are funny people. Maybe that's why I'm gay. But she wouldn't show me that emotion.
Yeah.
She went and talked to my sisters.
Okay.
Which was beautiful because they've known before her. They helped her get through it. They helped her understand it. Because I have two sisters. One actually, like I said, who lives here in Georgia, and she's a copy of my mom and my dad. She's right in between, so she's the voice of reason.
Right.
It's like, Mom, I know this is against the religion, and I know it's not our culture, but this is who Chinedu is, and what we can do is support him as him. You don't have to support the act, you don't have to support the lifestyle, but he came out of you.
Right.
So they helped her get through it. And one thing about my mom that I love so much, love and hate, she has never let me see her sweat about my sexuality.
Right.
Or until the day I came out to the family.
Right.
And now we're going to go back there.
So yeah, take me back there.
So I'm trying to think about calling her. She calls me. She's like, yeah, Chin, I think it's time for you to come and talk to your dad about, who you are. I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm glad you said that. I wanted to talk to him anyway. So it was a Thursday night. Now, let me put this context. Friday, I was going with the company, Us Helping Us. That's like a drop-in center in D.C.
In D.C.,
testing.
yeah.
I was going, oh, good.
But that's good for you clarifying for the listeners.
Yes, for the girls who don't know.
For the girls who don't know.
They had a 3MV the next day.
They had a what?
3MV, Many Man, Many Voices.
Okay.
So that type of, we were going to Deep Creek, Maryland. It's in the
Okay.
mountains.
Mountains
and
and the
house.
cabins.
Yes, to
Yeah.
just sit there and talk about HIV, talk about HIV.
I vacationed there one Christmas.
Oh, work. Oh. The girls travel. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
So go ahead. You guys are doing this.
Mind you, and I want to put this all in context. Mind you, this is all after NASM. Mind you, this is my first time traveling outside of my state to engage in any type of gay awareness, whatever. So this is literally all happened in a space of 10, 15 days. So she called me Thursday. It's like, you should come and talk to your dad. She's like, how about you come next week since you're going to your cabin trip? I said, Mommy, fuck that. I'm going to come now. So I'm going to come now because I can't wait and time can't wait. And my philosophy of life is people believe the person who comes to them the earliest. So if I wait till next week,
Your brother would have gotten to him or whomever else.
and she is a mess.
Your brother.
She's a mess. She's a mess. I don't got time for her. So she's like, when do you want to come? I said, I'm coming tonight. She's like, are you sure? I said, yeah. So I hung up with him. It's funny. This boy now is the boy who was my boyfriend at that time I came up to my mom is now my ex, and we work together. And he's my boss. Very strange. But we're real cool.
Okay.
So I talked to him about it. He's like, he gave me advice. I called all my friends. I said, be on standby
Because I may need support.
because I'm going to need support because this is talking to my dad is equivalent to talking to God.
And I just want to stress to the people that are listening, this is an African man, Nigerian.
Come on now. We arranged it's going to be tonight. Mind you, my dad knows nothing. Mind you, my brother hasn't called me.
Even after
Even after he knows. So I want you to get into a dynamic already that I'm about to explain to you. My brother didn't call me. Okay, siblings are closer than they're supposed to be to their parents. And me and my brother have not really always seen eye to eye because he likes sports, watching it, basketball, football, hockey. I don't mind playing it, but I like watching Jimmy Neutron and cartoons, and that was gay because I don't like doing the stuff that he likes to do. Mind you, y'all can't see me, but if you see my physique, I give what it gives. Like I played football, I ran track, played baseball, but it's the fact that I didn't participate in those things, watching sports with him, that in his mind he always thought I was gay. Just putting that out there. So now it's like, I've called my friend. I'm like, my friend lives, so I'm leaving Baltimore to go to PG County, the wealthiest African American county in the world. Just gotta put that out there. Because black people, we doing good. We gotta talk about ourselves.
You're right.
Not only when we got it.
You're right. That whole region down there, PG, Montgomery,
Come on.
Fairfax, McLean, Virginia.
The girls are surviving, not even thriving anymore, bitch.
Go ahead.
I'm funny. I'm trying to tell you. So I told my friend. My friend lives in Bowie. I live in Upper Marlboro. They're literally 10 miles from each other. He knows what to do. He has his phone. He usually has his phone on vibrate. He has his phone on, ringer.
Right.
And looking at it in hindsight, it's almost like you were prepared for war.
Right.
I had my battalions ready. Everybody was ready for me and prepared. Everybody was ready but me and my dad. So we get home. My dad sees me. He doesn't even know I'm coming. So he sees me. He is elated because, which I don't know, I'm the last of 4 children. And we believe in reincarnation. And I reincarnate my dad's dad.
Okay.
And my dad loves his dad more than life. He's passed, but he loves his dad. And I love my dad. Like, weird enough, I'm a daddy's boy. Never heard of that, but that's what I am. Like, I'm big with my dad. Like, so I never want to let him down. That's why he don't know my sexuality. Keep that in mind. This story is getting cute. We need to make a movie out of this. Motion picture, bitch. Tyler Perry Studios. We're in Atlanta, girl. We should make this a film. So we walk in. My dad he opens the door. He's like, oh, I'm so excited. Gives me a hug. He shows me the clothes he's bought for me. My sister is there. Not the one who lives here, but my other sister, who's also albino. I'm albino, by the way. So they know what's tea. My brother knows what's tea. His wife doesn't really know. My mom knows. So my mom, we already even planned this. I'm like, Mommy, I would be remiss. I would be foolish if I dare let anybody know that you knew.
Right.
So what we're going to do is you didn't know anything, but the girls did. Because my dad can get mad at his daughters, but he cannot get mad at his wife.
Right.
We don't do that divorce shit.
Right.
So let's keep it cute. And she agreed. Mothers are amazing because you're going against your vows.
The secrets that women carry.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So let me get a drink of this yak. Yo, I'm a character.
Yeah.
So we're all talking, and she asked me, do I need to eat dinner? Now, at this time, I had a little revert back. I went to SOS, and I met this guy. SOS. NASM at the baby conference, Bill the Brother Institute. I had met this guy who I just started talking to at that time, just real friendly, real close. So I went downstairs in the basement and called him and told him, like, hey, you know, I'm about to come out to my parents. And he was like, you know, good luck and stuff like that. Like, call me when it's over. So I went upstairs and, what's your zodiac sign?
I'm a Taurus.
See? Can I tell you God works well? I'm a Virgo. We earth signs.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm smarter than your average bear. So before I was about to do it, something told me, Chinedu, preserve this moment for prosperity.
Yeah.
So I downloaded a recording app and I pushed record.
To record
the audio of what happened. And not to ever embarrass my family, but to remind, because one day we will come out of this.
Right.
One day we will progress. But I want us to know where we came from.
Right.
And I want this to be a story for those many Africans.
Yeah.
Because there's not that many who are so willing to come out from the West African region.
Right.
Not from a family like mine.
Right.
So I put the recorder on. I came talk to my parents. I'm like, you know, I want to talk to y'all.
So where are the siblings?
Everybody's in the family room. So we all set up like the Cosby's, bitch. So we set up and we ready to get into this tea. Now,
Is there tension in the air?
There is.
Go ahead.
So say I want to talk to y'all. Everybody pretending like they don't know. But they all know. I might need another drink so let you know.
Okay.
It's getting deep. Y'all listen, I done changed my wig 2 times now. I done taken it off.
Right.
So now we're in the point where I want to set up this stage for you. We are in the family room. The TV's on the wall. The TV faces the seats. There's a seating set up. I mean, I'm sitting in front of them like they're the Council of Trent, like they're the tribunal about to put Jesus on the cross. And that's very important to know for structure. I'm standing and everybody is sitting. And I'm by myself. So I'm a Democrat in a room full of Republicans. I just want to set that imagery to know how I was feeling. Because I was the only gay one in that room in a room full of heteros. So that really matters. They didn't see that though. So I'm telling my dad. Now there was a little beef between me and my brother and me and my brother's wife prior. So I went to apologize for that. She accepted that because my brother's wife lives there with my brother temporarily. She accepted my apology. And I went in to explain who I am and all that good shit.
Do you remember your words?
I, just like my dad, I started with a quote, you know, from somebody. I don't remember who exactly. But I started off with a quote and said, you know, throughout my years, I've learned so much. You got to start off good before you hit them with the thing. But I do remember saying this. I said, with all that being said, and I felt so good. I said, I am a gay male. Pause it. Let me rewind you back. The moment I came to talk, now let's get into my brother, because it's the only brother I have. The moment I came to talk, mind you, this is the bitch who thinks that he set all of this up. He think he set this up, even though I want to do this regardless.
Right.
When I came down there to talk, he left. And I said, I want to talk to everybody, my whole family. And he left. So I want y'all to placate this in your mind that there was, you already knew what was tea. You set this up for me to make this announcement, but you walked away. So the way our house is set up, when you go upstairs and like you're walking to the rooms, there's like a little balcony and you can look down into the living room.
Okay.
So you can be up there and see it. But that's where he went to the room first. So when I said I'm gay, he was out there listening. Creeping, okay? Creeping on the down low. What did TLC tell us, y'all? Creeping on the down low. I said it and looked directly at my dad because I'm like, you know what? This is for you, Dad. The women will always be able to take pain.
Right.
They always will. No matter how hard it is, they always will be able.
Right.
So I looked at my dad, and he was there. He was frozen. He couldn't believe it. He wasn't expecting it. And my dad is very loquacious, as I am. However, he had nothing to say. So talking about my gayness ended up coming into who I have been my whole life. And I told him, like, you know, I've been hiding. I've been depressed. I've been upset. I've been, you know, misleading you all, taking these girls to prom, knowing I didn't want to, talking about girls in front of y'all, knowing I didn't want to. I have been killing myself to keep the image you have of me alive.
So your father's not saying anything?
I hadn't said a word. And the thing about my dad is, my dad was the aggressive one. So like when I was a kid, I got my ass beat, and I'm fine with that because that's discipline, and he wanted to teach me the right things. So whenever your dad doesn't beat you when you do something wrong, but he gets quiet,
Right.
it's serious. It's a serious thing. Because his first reaction is to go to the hand. Now, granted, he hasn't beat me in a long time, but my dad hasn't spoken. He hasn't moved. He just sits there and he's listening.
Can you read his facial expression?
Fuck yes. And the thing about it is, we're talking about an African man, older than me, in his 60s. I'm a young 25-year-old telling you I'm gay. I'm taking over of the patriarchal role, and you're older than me, my brother's older than me, and you're actually sitting there listening to me without any interjections. That is fearful, based off of the structure of an African household.
So what's your mom thinking, and what's her face reading?
Honey, my mom is giving Angela Bassett ready to win that best leading actress role because she knows.
Right.
But she has to sell it to my dad like she don't. Very important.
So has she said anything?
Nope. So I'm talking for almost entire hour.
For an hour?
Yes. So
And he's sitting there this entire hour, and no one's saying anything.
No, the girls haven't said anything. So I'm sitting there, I'm, tearing up, but I'm keeping myself together because, like I said, all I'm thinking about in this moment, because guess what? I was a weak soul doing strong things. But what I remembered is my brothers. The brothers that I met a week before, who I've never known for the 25 years I lived, who validated me and gave me strength. I'm thinking about the faculty who I met, who gave me strength. I said, you know what you need to do? Do not falter. Stand strong. Because guess what? They can only break you down if your foundation is broken. But honey, my foundation has been fortified, like I told you earlier. Right. So I was ready. No one could shake me. Period. So I was standing up there. I told them, I told them about my thoughts of suicide, which is funny. That's what brings me to Atlanta. When I turned 21, I came to Atlanta with my best friend. Stayed at the motherfucking Grand Hyatt on Peachtree, bitch. Okay? Feeling like a fabulous bitch. I'm 21. I'm supposed to be happy. But I try to drown myself in the bathtub.
Really?
Yes. Because I know. And I'm a very open guy. I'm a loving guy. I'm an earth sign. You know how we are. We are very much open about ourselves. But I knew I was living a lie. I could afford to travel. I'm out here in the city, living in staying in the nice part of, everything was going good.
Yeah.
But it was a falsehood. It was a fallacy.
Right.
And I hate living a fallacy because I'm a truth-seeking person. So I wanted to end me because my dad didn't know it. My dad, I love my mom, girl. I live for you, sis. But my dad is the thing that means the most to me, period. I would trade the world just for him. So that was one of many times I wanted to kill myself because it's been a tough time. It's hard handling this shit.
Right.
And you can't, and then being an African, and the only people who I can talk to are African Americans, and that's cute and all, but you don't know my struggle.
Yeah.
You don't understand.
Yeah.
So it was always hard. So I told them all that. My brother's wife gave a little, now the funny thing about her is she's our culture, Igbo. However, she was raised very Americanized, which is good. Because now you're bringing an African-American aspect to an African household. Now let's go back to African roles. My brother, the other male, married an Igbo woman of the same culture. So automatically her word is valid in that house. No matter how white she sounds or how proper she sounds, because it's of the same culture and fits that Brady Bunch theme, it works for my dad. So when she speaks up, even if it goes against my dad, he listens because it follows that lineage of what we're supposed to do, bitch. So she said to me, Chinedu, I'm glad that you were vulnerable, because she's also a nurse, vulnerable, and said that. Like, to hear that you wanted to commit suicide, none of us knew that. And they all know me as the funny person. Like, you're always making jokes. You're always making us happy at your own detriment. I'm like, I'm sitting there trying to, like, hold myself together. I'm like, damn, bitch, you really getting into this. I didn't even get into it that deep.
Right.
She's getting into it. My mother talks. Mind you, my brother's still upstairs. So check this out. So now he brings out his male chauvinism. So now he wants to include himself. Mind you, this is somebody who walked away. So from the upstairs level over the balcony, he is bemoaning his point. He said, why didn't you tell me? He said, I'm mad at you because you didn't tell me. He said, you could have told me. Hitting himself. I looked at him. I said, could I? I said, could I tell you? I said, picture this, sis.
You said picture this, sis?
Yes. I said, where are you standing? You're upstairs and I'm downstairs. What could I have told you if you are even now physically acting as my superior, acting like you can't even stand next to me while I face my dad like a sibling is supposed to? Because no matter what, we are the connection. When siblings get in trouble, they help each other to stand against their parents. That's how it's supposed to work. But you are choosing to side with my dad. Now let's really get into that. My dad is an educator. My brother was in school for 7 years. Brother's 6 years older than me. He was in school for 7 years. Ain't really doing shit with his life. I was in school for 7 years. However, I've done it, what I needed to do. I got out of school with a job, full-time, position created, that I created for me. No games played, okay? I was making more than my brother officially. My brother MCs. But he's a prodigal son because he's African. He married a wife. So it don't matter that he is actually fucking up. And he's 6 years older than me and he still hasn't got his shit together. And I'm 6 years younger and I have my shit together. But he represents the typical African, what the African wants. Somebody who speaks the language, who knows the culture, all that good shit. And now that I'm a faggot, and I use that word to express how I'm viewed, now I'm a little faggot. My dad has been upset with my brother. But look at this. Survival of the fittest. Look at this separation. Look at this slavery. This is my brother's chance to get in good graces with my dad. Because you weren't already doing what you're supposed to do. So this is your opportunity. That's why you didn't stand by me. You weak, nigga. And I knew that. Because I'm a smart girl. Paid it. So he's telling me like you could have told me. Then I said, but we don't really have much biological family here. I said, but you never been anywhere with me. You take my little cousins out and call them cousins is equivalent to like, you know how here in the African American culture you have somebody who's really close, maybe a neighbor,
right, but you
family friend, right? You call them like your family. That's what that cousin is to me. Their parents are from where my mom is from, but we have no bloodline. But it's like you take him out. This boy is 4 or 5 years younger than me. You take him out. You post him. You don't come to me. He's like, but you didn't tell me. I said, sir, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You are the older brother. You were 6 when I came out the womb, excuse me. You were there. The story's always told that when I came to the hospital, you held me. So what the fuck does it look like me coming to pander to you about my problems when you're my brother? Encroach on my life. Figure out what's going on. Do what I want to do. So that was, I don't want to keep getting too deep into it, but that was the nomenclature of the damn conversation. My sister, my mom starts to speak.
Meanwhile, your father's still not speaking.
Still quiet, unlike him.
And is he looking at you? Is he looking up
looking
at your...
at me.
Is he looking up at
looking
your brother?
My sister, looking at me, looking at my sister, just looking at me directly, disappointed. And that's been my biggest fear. I never came out because I don't want to disappoint daddy. Think about it. If I killed myself in Atlanta, I would be fine as long as I didn't shame my dad with my sexuality, because he could never live with that. And my sister was bringing up, like, you know, Chinedu, I've always known. She brought up a good point that I didn't even get. It's like, Daddy, I took care of this boy. When he was 5'4", I was the one giving him a bath. And she took me back to a day that I wasn't really aware of myself. When I was 5'4" years old, you knew what you were doing, but you didn't know the basis of it. She's older than me. I'm the last of 4. Okay? So she said, Daddy, I've always known that this boy is different. I didn't know what to call it at that time because we didn't really know what gay was. They probably didn't know what gay was at that time for our family. But it's like I knew that he wasn't like any of us. I could always notice something different about him. And the funny thing is, we equate different to bad. But I'm also super intelligent, and that wasn't brought up because I said I was gay. So all that was put to the wayside. But she said I always noticed something about my brother.
Did she give any examples?
She just said, she couldn't say what it was, just the way he was. I can give you an example. When my brother went to Nigeria for 3 years in 2004 when I was about 12 years old. And I was with my sisters for 3 years. And we would go outside and I'd play with their friends who were girls. And they would do the pop the coochie. And I'm there popping the coochie with them.
Except you just don't have a coochie.
As far as I was concerned, I did.
Right.
But they didn't know why I did that. I didn't know why I did that. But we grew up in a very, very different provincial town where we didn't even think to look at that. But in hindsight, when you look back, I was showing you signs before I even knew what gay was. So, I had to drink my yak, y'all. So, like, that is something that I brought up. And
So did your father say anything to her when she said,
No,
or he's just listening?
Still quiet. My mother spoke up and she started crying. She's like, I just want my family to be complete, like a mother would say. And the funny thing is that the patriarch is the ruler, but it's the mother that brought everybody in. The mother that made this family a family. It's the mother that, it's the woman, it's the woman that turned that man and woman into fathers and mothers. She bare the 4 children with the marks to prove it. So all she wanted was peace, equality, equity, all of that shit together. Peace in her home. But sometimes peace comes with when there's peace, or if there's peace made, somebody's not always happy. So she spoke, she cried. Then my dad finally spoke. Yeah, my dad is an academician. He's like, he went to Julius Caesar. He went to Rome. He went to Africa before finally addressing me. So he gave a whole bunch of examples, similar to how I talk. You see, the apple doesn't fall too far. So he ended his statement by saying, this is ungodly. It's outside of religion and culture. What would people in our village say? What would our ancestors say? Blah, blah, blah. And my sister just stood up and challenged him and said, your son just told you he was about to kill himself and all you're worried about is them? He said, what story would you rather tell? Your son is gay, or my son killed himself because he was gay? Sat on the girls for a little bit. At this point, it's getting heated. It's going from a conversation.
Did he respond to her?
No.
Okay.
Because guess what? An African man doesn't want to be wrong. So now, I've told you where my brother was. This is a 3-hour conversation, by the way. But now at this point, now my father has spoken after 2 hours of listening. My brother has now migrated from upstairs to downstairs. I'm going to take you back a little bit, just briefly. When my brother first went upstairs, my sister whispered to me and said, no matter what he says, don't focus on him. Because I am very, very impulsive.
She was talking about don't focus on who?
My brother.
Your brother.
My brother, what he does is he's an avid architect of taking people out of their square, out of their energy, out of their chi, if you will. Out of the wusa, for my African American cunts. Okay? So, now that's where it's getting interesting. Mind you, I'm very, very impulsive. But I was handling myself because I'm like, you know what, this is not the time to be that. So we're talking and I'm explaining. And the whole time I'm talking here, like I said to you earlier, I gave you the example of I was standing in front of the tribunal. Yeah. I compared myself to Jesus. Now, I compare myself to Jesus in the sense I want to give you the idea. When Jesus was brought in front of the Sanhedrin, okay, it was a whole group of people who opposed who he was versus just him. He didn't have no Cochran. He didn't have no group, no Black Lives Matter. It was just Jesus. That's what I was. It was me against them. And alone, just for that experience, I felt powerless. So finally, my brother has now come downstairs, sat down. He has tried to get me hot. I keep dialing back. I'm listening. I'm taking it. Even what I don't want to receive, I'm receiving it. And after a while, I'm sitting down. Things are good. I'm sitting down. Now I've sat down. I've been standing for 2 hours. Understand that. So I'm sitting down next to my brother's wife, feeling like things are going great. And I'm holding my head. I'm like, now I'm out. I can't sit here and allow lies to penetrate me like I used to. So I keep hearing them say, it's a phase. It's the people you hung out with. And I'm sitting here getting frustrated. I'm like, y'all can't see me, but I have my hand over my eyes, and I'm moving my legs like, And I'm like, my brother keeps talking. I'm like, I don't feel like I can. I kept saying, like, I don't feel like I can do this. Like, I just want to leave. Like, I interrupted my dad. I'm like, you're wrong. Challenging the patriarch. I'm like, you're wrong. What you're saying is not true. That's wrong. And I just feel like I can't hear this. I just want to leave. My brother said, then fucking leave then. That wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the camel falling to the ground.
That was the camel falling to the ground.
Girl, the camel done tumbled, okay? And that was it. All the good me, all the me that was listening, following, went out the door. And that's when I started to read the bitch for filth. Now the gay came out. I said, who are you? I said, fuck you. Curse. Mind you, I don't curse in front of my parents. My parents don't even know I curse. I said, fuck you. I said, who are you? I said, it kills me that you're unsuccessful. You're 31 years old living in my childhood room. Meanwhile, I have my place in Baltimore that I paid for. Mommy and daddy pay the mortgage of which you live under. And you don't pay a goddamn bill. because now I wanted to settle the score. Like, if you want to do this in a very, very professional manner, you have no right to speak. You're not even a man because you can't even take care of yourself and your wife. You and your wife had an apartment and y'all moved into the house. I'm still living in the house at 25 and you're 31. Fuck am I? Who are you? And I told him, what am I going to learn from you? Now pause it there. What I said was disrespectful, but that was the truth. I could never learn from you or my brother, but you never gave me anything I could learn from. I learned from the people who I was around. And I started saying, I said, who taught me how to apply for a job? My best friend, who's my age. But I said, Bilal. Who taught me how to change a tire? Bilal. Who taught me how to change the oil in a car? Bilal. Who taught me how to do this? I said, what have you done for me? Nothing. But just be a brother. I said, you have borrowed more money from me than I have borrowed from you. Yet you have more access to money based off of age and experience than I've ever had. And I started comparing him to other brothers. Mind you, he's getting hot. And we're a very vocal family, all of us. So my brother gets up, my sister gets up, my sister's wife gets up. And that's where it gets interesting. So my mother came to defend and stop. And she happened to be in my forefront. So you know how it is when things get heated. I accidentally pushed my mother. And she fell back in the chair, comfortably like a cunt. If anything, she fell in a soft dip, girls.
And a soft dip.
But guess what? Let's take you back. My brother was embarrassed when his friends exposed that to him. My brother was embarrassed to be next to me. That's why he went upstairs. And I just pushed my mother. My brother used all those two angers, justified it with the push of my mother. You fucking push my mom. You fucking push my mom. And he approaches me. That's when he starts. My brother is way bigger than me. My brother is very trade looking, by the way. He's a huge guy. Like, cocky, big boy. I'm big too, but he's way bigger than me. He tackles me to the ground. He's like hitting me, punching me.
Where's Daddy? He's still sitting in the chair.
Daddy,
he hasn't moved.
Daddy has gotten up now, telling my brother, stop. Now my dad is pulling rank. Like, now I'm the elder. Stop.
Does he stop?
Stop. No. Pause it. Just like slavery. Don't stop the slave master from whipping the child, from whipping the slave after he's whipped the slave. Stop the slave master when you see him getting built up, soon to whip the slave. Remember, when my brother was disrespecting me from upstairs, my dad was silent. That's my thing. Don't be silent about an injustice until it becomes big. Don't do that, because you're just as wrong as the injustice. So now my dad is talking at me. This is where it gets crazy. My dad is saying, stop. Mind you, this is all new to my dad. My sexuality, his whole family fighting, his wife. My mom is trying to stop. My sister's trying to stop my brother. My brother's wife's trying to stop me. I'm trying to beat the shit out of my brother because now I want to be a man as well. You're not about to punk me. Then my dad does something that scares everybody. He starts coughing. And now my dad can't breathe. He's gasping for air in a house with 3 medical professionals, including his wife, his daughter, and his daughter-in-law. And now his wife, my brother's wife, screams, "What, you know, Daddy can't breathe." Now my brother stops. But then now I'm expected to go back and revert to my dad because of what just happened. I love my dad, but in that moment, it was my moment. I said, fuck that. No. They're like, just stop. I said, no. I said, do y'all know how many years I've been holding this back? And my brother had hit me and all that, and I got little marks on my neck. I said, you know what? I'm going to fight you all with what I know actually works. Embarrassment and shame. So I'm not going to fight my brother. Because the anger in me wanted to walk inside and get that knife and stab that nigga. But I said, no. I've had my run-in with jail once. It won't ever happen again. I'd be smarter. Think smart. So I went upstairs, got my iPad. Because my phone has... one of my sister's wife took the phone.
You're going to post on Facebook?
No, I'm going to call the police. Remember, imagery, African.
Right.
My dad doesn't want to be soiled in them. So I call. For some reason, my iPad wasn't hooked up to the Wi-Fi. Look at God. It always has been. It just didn't work that day. So I went and called the house phone, called the police. And I said the words. I said, I need you to come. My family won't let me leave this house. This is where I live at. Da-da-da. They thought I was bluffing. Put the bitch on speaker. I said, yeah, I live at 15601. They won't let me talk on the phone. They're going to cut this line. Da-da-da-da. They cut off the phone. I said, just give me my phone. I said, give me my phone. I'll call the police back. Tell them it wasn't a lie. It was a hoax. We'll end this. We'll just call this a family mishap. They don't have to come. And it will be it. They didn't listen. I said, okay, y'all don't know me. Because I'm still trying, like, at this point, I'm being as judicious as I can. I'm giving you bitches option. Because I can sit here and turn this whole house for what all of y'all have done to me. I go back, get the phone, call them again. Now I scream. I said, help, help, in front of my dad's face. My dad said, like, he's like, now my dad's trying to come to me as a son. Like, my son. He said, which means my son. You're going to do this to me? It's too late for that. I said, help, help, help. My dad is letting my brother hold me hostage at 15601. Gave the address, everything. Then my dad screams, give him his phone. Exactly. The first time he didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. You see? They provoked me. They thought I was playing. Like they always have. Thought I'm joking around. Finally got my phone. Told my brother, I said, you're useless. You're worthless. You're a terrible brother. Fuck you. Left out the house, took all my shit. Walked, because I had my bag, prepared for that 3MB the next day. Called my friend, woke him up. I said, Louis, you know what to do. I'm roaming around the neighborhood like a chicken with his head cut off, crying. Again, same problem exists. I'm crying, I'm upset, I'm cold. Who's there to warn me? I am now forced to be my own best friend, to be my own sweater, to be my own comfort. My sister calls me. She comes down, sees me smoking, and she talks to me. It's like, stop smoking that. Cigarette, smoke weed if you're going to smoke anything. Don't smoke cigarettes. Real fish. And she told me, like, you know what? African parents, all they care about is imagery. Said, the only way to defeat them is when you go back to Baltimore, don't call them for help. Go back to school like you said you're going to do. Get your master's. Be that successful you without them, gay or not, and let them deal. Gave her a hug. My friend pulled up in the Jeep, and that was that.
What's your relationship with your dad today?
Last time I saw him was at church on Mother's Day. He saw me. He was about to travel a week later. I told him safe journeys. When you travel, look them dead in the eye. He looked away from me, got on his phone.
Did he say anything?
Nope. Because this is all after. Now, after all this happened, weeks later, we came back together to try to diffuse it, just me and him and my mom at his office, neutral location.
Right.
And he pulled the usual. Let's bring the holy oils that I've gotten from Africa. Let's pray. I told him how hypocritical he was. I said, you're only praying when there's a problem. You're not a believer. We've never prayed as a family before, but now there's an issue, you're praying. That's not true. If you want to talk about what's real Catholicism, that's not it. And I told him during that time, that's the last time we talked, February 22nd, I think. I told him, I said, if you can't take me for being me, disown me as your son. And I walked away crying. Got on a train and went back to Baltimore.
Did you ever feel, before coming out to him, did you ever feel like you had to force this bravado or this masculinity around him?
Absolutely. My dad would always ask me, he would always say this, it's funny. He's like, I hope you're living, he wouldn't try to ask me am I gay. He's like, I hope you're living a straight life. I would always say, what do you mean by that? He would try to cover it up like straightforward, like you're being very, very, intentional of what you're doing. I'm like, bitch, I ain't stupid.
Right.
Because you're trying to use your African sense. You gotta also remember, I was raised in this country. I was born in this country and raised in this country. So I have a little bit of my American sense. I know what you're trying to do, bitch. It's not working. And there was always a sense of bravado. I always tell the story of how I went to prom with a girl. Fabulous. As I'm talking to him, I'll pull up a picture. Fabulous outfits. What is Patti LaBelle? Not Patti LaBelle. What did that look? Nice gowns. Gowns were just phenomenal. I looked good. But I went to prom for 2.5 hours. When I was done, I took my prom date back home and went to a hotel where all my gay friends were to actually have my real prom. And it's like I always had to exemplify this fictitious norm that made my dad comfortable, even though the good thing about actors is no matter how well you act, we all know that you're acting. And I think my dad knew too. Beautiful girl, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Full African, the full image of what my dad would have wanted me to have. But I was always giving extra vibrato, extra man. And after that, I got tired of doing that in college. I just stopped coming home.
Right.
I wouldn't come home for long times. I would come home for Christmas, Mother's Day, Easter, CME. That's all I was.
It's so interesting because I've said this to people before. There's this period when you're trying to, as a gay person, where you're trying to figure yourself out, where you're estranged from your family and
Yes.
some of your close friends, because part of it is because you're trying to figure yourself out, but also it's because you're trying to hide this secret. And you don't want anybody to know.
Absolutely.
And so you're also looking for your connections within the gay community. So it's like you start to distance yourself from the people that you were most comfortable with at one point.
Right, and I also distance myself from who, again, ignorance, who I would call the faggots, the girls who I met at the conference, because they were so open with themselves.
Right.
I had the in-between girls, the girls who were just as lost as me.
Right.
And what's even worse about that is I've destroyed and severed so many relationships because my mom, my dad, my family wasn't what I needed them to be. So similar to how the girls joined the ballroom to get a family aspect, I created a concept that we have in Igbo called Wane de Namba, which basically means like my brother outside of my family. And that was my friends. So now I'm expecting my friends to be my father, my friends to be my brothers, my friends to be my sisters.
Did you date in that way too?
Yes. And my relationships went horribly because now I'm putting on too much pressure of you that you're not signing up for because I'm damaged goods. I was just trying to damage you as well. And I feel like, no, you're supposed to be my boyfriend, my dad, my brother, and my sister. Nobody wanted that. All my relationships ended the same way, with me being overly indulgent in those different sides.
So how did you reconcile that? How did you cure yourself of that? Or do you think you're still trying to work through that?
Well, the boys who I met before were unfortunately, they were the trial drug without any tests. I like to do comparisons. They were
a metaphor.
They were my AZTs, okay?
Uh-huh.
No clinical runs, no clinical. They were the clinical tests without me even knowing it.
Right.
But now, where I'm at now, my man is Travada, okay? He is the solution, okay? What actually works through to testing. Because now my man, now the way I come at him based off of what I know, those issues don't even come up ever anymore.
Right.
Which now makes me feel like arguments that once happened don't happen. Fights that once happened don't exist. And what's crazy is my ex, who was my boss, who is also my best friend, who I talked to about my new boyfriend, all he can say is, why weren't you that for me?
Right. Well, you know what I've said before, I've said to people, we've all been someone's disappointment. Oftentimes we always talk about how amazing we are. Oh, I'm a great catch. Yeah, you are today.
Yes.
But 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, you were somebody's disappointment because you hadn't grown
into yourself.
Into
your
yourself.
purpose.
Yeah. So you were talking about this African community of gay people who probably are suffering the way that you are. Or were.
They're suffering worse than me. What I can say, straight up, ain't nobody like me. I'm very unique. We're all unique, but I'm a little bit more unique because I grew up in a very strict family. Some families are more lenient, but not everybody is as vocal as me. I am the one. In every family, there's a me. And I'm that me, that person who goes against the grain from birth. I told my mother, I said, the first moment that I showed you that I was going against the grain was I was your first and only C-section. I had my own rules. You couldn't decide how I was coming out. I already knew that. I believe in spirituality. I was there to shake the table. And if you get into reincarnation, what my family believes in, that's what my grandfather was too. He shook the table of the norm.
And when you spoke earlier about how it was you against them when you were telling them, and you compared it to Jesus and how everybody was against him, I've often believed, and I've believed this for some time now, that we, gay people, are the chosen people. I have thought that and believed that in my heart for some time.
Absolutely. Because we're the discarded few.
Yeah.
We're the ones that nobody wants until it becomes beneficial.
Yes.
In Catholic faith, it says, after those men put Jesus on that cross, and when Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, my Father, why have you abandoned me, and died? The first thing them soldiers that put him up there said was, surely this was the man of God. But you needed him to die first before you believed him. That's the same thing. Isn't that not different from what my sister told me? Go back to school, get a higher education, what Africans value. When you do that, no one can say anything to you. That's the same thing. An idea of Renaissance rebirth to be accepted.
But I think that's a part of like the culture. like for many gay men, even when you think back to elementary school, the smartest kids in class, it was either the little gay boy and a girl or the gay boy. And then even when you think about us as a community, when you compare black gay men to heterosexual gay men, we far exceed in terms of achievement.
Supersede.
Yeah. And I think it's because we intrinsically know that we have to be better. Because you can't say anything else other than you're a faggot.
That's it.
But I have my degree. I make this salary. I have this amazing place that I live in. I drive the best car. Like, everything has to be in order for us. And I think also part of the reason why some of us have such quick wit and quick tongues is because we've always been on the defense. We're always waiting for somebody. We've gotten so accustomed to people saying something sideways to us, and so we're ready.
Listen, I've always said this. A gay black man to hetero black men and women is what black people are to white people.
Yes.
And what heteros don't need to understand, and I don't like the word straight, because straight to me symbolizes that you're correct, that you're the standard. No, ma'am. What I believe is this, and it's beyond my belief, it can be proven. Black people assimilate differently when they're into a position of power. That's why house niggas act different when they got in the house, and field niggas could no longer relate because they had a sense of power. Similar to the psychological study they did at, I forget what university, I think Stanford, many years ago, where it was a classroom of people who were taking the same course. They put them in a lab and said, this part of the class, you are the police and you all are the robbers. And with that power, those people that were equal start to literally almost kill each other. And I think it's that extra step up.
Yeah.
But that's also, it's bad, but what makes it good is it now lets us gays know that if a black person has to be 10 times swifter than a white person, a gay person has to be 100 times. Because we're quick.
Yeah.
Every strategy, every organization, every movement, we're in it. Civil rights, led by us.
I said that just the other night on my Facebook Live. Every movement in this country,
everyone,
we're at the forefront
every single time.
Yeah. And a friend of mine said, black gay men save the black community.
Period.
But
we will never get that acknowledgement. I don't want to go too deep, but it even gets deeper than that, because now the white oppressed the black, now the black oppressed the gay black, and then now we need to find our own people to oppress, because that's how life works. Now the gay blacks oppress the trans. It becomes a cycle.
Listen, now if you don't say nothing else, you said that.
Because I see what we do, and I see why we do it. That's why I stop it.
And I would even venture to say that black people also make efforts to oppress Hispanic people.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't have our struggle, but they are struggling. And we have to acknowledge that as well. But we think sometimes struggle is exclusive to us, and not just us, our type of us. Because we don't consider that same struggle when it comes to a black person maybe who grew up in the nicer side of town, who grew up in Boston with money. We won't see their struggle the same, because you have to come from this place and that. It's again, slavery did its course. It is a life living document, because whether white people stopped doing it, slavery became our DNA.
Yeah.
Where now we enslave ourselves through whether it be, it's not just gay and not gay, it's educated and not educated, it's have and have nots, men and women. And when my parents come up to me with the whole gay thing, and my dad likes facts, I said, well, let's go historically. Let's go to architecture, because you can't deny facts. I said, many kings were gay men. He said, how do you know? So I'll tell you how I knew. First of all, look at old Victorian and even before that architecture. Did you ever know that a castle, look at a castle in all of your stories, the male's quarters was here, west. Female quarters was all the way east. Men were higher than women. To get to a woman's room, you're passing all male guards. Men used women to procreate, to keep the patriarchy going. But the men were their true pleasure seekers. They just didn't have a name for it. They didn't call it gay or anything. It's power. And they worked. There is studies that show King Ramsey was doing things with other men. It's only simple. I mean, the woman was so far away. The other side. I need y'all to think about the other side of the castle. We're talking about huge castles the size of small neighborhoods. You think you're going to pass all the... And what did these men look like who were guarding these places? They were big. They were chiseled. Even in your straight communities, men cannot deny the looks of another man. You don't have to be attracted to them, but you can't deny it. When another man, when a scrawny man sees a big man, muscular, he wants to be that. So there's some level of attraction. It doesn't have to be sexual. So this whole gay thing is not new. It just has a name. That's it. And I tried to explain it to him, and he didn't believe me. But I'm like, baby, check the history books. Ain't nothing new under the sun. The same way we can say HIV is not new. It's just named.
It's just named.
That's it.
Anything that you want to leave us with?
I want to leave y'all with this, my dears. I am weaker than I look, and I am weaker than I sound. My strength comes from me being vulnerable. Because once I show you where I'm weak at, that place automatically becomes strong. So I tell everybody, your vulnerability is your biggest strength. Oxymoron, but it's true. Because once they hit that side, that is once weak and small and little and nimble, you can never hit me there twice. And I will also say, like, be strong, challenge the norm. Because the norm is not the norm until you challenge it. Make your own headway. You know, they say, follow the path, the righteous path. If you get into it, the righteous path is the one that nobody wants to take. So no shade, the righteous path is the gay path. Because last I checked, my Lord and Savior, he was not sitting there with the kings and queens. He was sitting there with the prostitute at the well, with the Judas who betrayed him, with the Peter who denied him 3 times before the cock crows twice as prophesied. So if you see your imperfection as nothing important, your imperfection is perfection. Because God would want to be around the people like you. So no matter how much the church denies you, the community denies you, you, by the stories of the book, are the one that God lifts up on that last day. So don't just die. Resurrect in his image.
You make me excited about your generation. I was really nervous about your generation, but you speak with brilliance. And so if you are just an example of what your generation is going to bring, then I'm excited. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, we are available for free in SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you can listen to a podcast. I invite you to subscribe. Please share this podcast with your friends, your family, your social media. Be safe. Keep loving yourself.
And follow me. Hold on. Follow.
Oh, go ahead.
Edit this in or edit this
Go
out.
ahead. Go ahead.
Follow me on IG. EZE The Truth. EZE The Truth. Follow me, and I want to hear what y'all think about my story, what I have to say.
Yeah.
So I can fortify myself, and more importantly, the community who hasn't reached where I'm at now.
I'm going to follow you on Instagram. And I want you to subscribe to the podcast, too. All right? So listen, guys, we're here each and every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be safe. Keep loving yourself.